Welcome back. A long, dark winter lies in store for South Africans, unfortunately. We're currently in the middle of stage 6 power cuts, but if the forecast is anything to go by, there's even worse to come. So according to the Centre for Risk Analysis, there's been just one full 24-hour period free of power cuts this year. And the CRA says South Africans should expect stage 4 and 5 rolling blackouts for 43 weeks this year, or at least 83% from now until March 2024. So the head of Policy Analysis, Chris Hattingh, speaks to us now to bring us these bad news. Chris, I was hoping you would be the light at the end of the tunnel, but unfortunately we have to be realistic, manage our expectations. So what have you found just in terms of, how many days in the year, at least 2023, we can expect a full day of no load shedding, if at all possible?
Good morning to Melo and good morning to the viewers. I wish I had better news for you. Of course, I hope that our projections turn out to be incorrect, but we went to the Eskom weekly status reports to try and get that data to look at what Eskom themselves think of their available generation capacity, their planned and unplanned outages, all that sort of stuff, to try and just make sense of the current state of play. So this latest report of ours is based on Eskom's weekly status update of the week of 20 March. And we looked at all the various factors, including, for example, the operating reserve, the unplanned outage assumption, all of that sort of stuff. So if you just go based on the unplanned outage assumption, that is around 15,000 megawatts for Eskom per week. This could change at any point. This could improve. This could worsen. Based on that and their available generation capacity, we think at least stages 3, 4, and 5. This could, of course, change at any point if they manage to get a handle on those unplanned outages, if they move ahead with the curve, with maintenance, as it were. But for the time being, we think Eskom is very much struggling to keep up with their maintenance. And a lot of it sort of snowballs. When one thing breaks down, it affects everything around it. It's not an easy process necessarily to turn around. So unfortunately, as we all now head into winter, for the majority of South Africans, we're looking at much longer periods without electricity.
Yeah. When it comes to just on average, the energy utilities projection, when it comes to these unplanned outages, Chris, where do their projections lie?
So they work on the assumption every week of 15,000 megawatts of unplanned outages. They've got an operating reserve of 2,200 megawatts, and that's a tiny margin of the total, maybe about 3 or 4%. So they're working with very fine margins. If maybe that operating reserve declines and they can't match the amount of needed electricity or what they need to put out into the grid, the dispatchable amount that they have ready to go, we're going to see more and more outages and breakages and that sort of thing. If we look at Eskom's installed capacity and the available dispatchable electricity, that hovers just over 40,000 megawatts. Some weeks it's at 46,000, some weeks as low as 41,000. That could also fluctuate, again, based on what they get from different sources, from the coal stations. Those, of course, the backbone of the Eskom electricity fleet, as it were. If those big failure points go, then you'll see much more pressure on Eskom as a whole. We've got, I think, continued problems at Kuberg, maintenance being done there, which one should give credit for, that the planned maintenance is being done, but delays in terms of getting those units back online, and that then puts more pressure on the coal stations. You've got the running of the open cycle gas turbines. Those aren't necessarily designed to be run 24 hours a day. If those break down again, it adds to that snowball effect.
Now, is that then also what informs, Chris, the likely risk scenario for every week being marked as red?
That's absolutely correct. And then you look at higher demand. As we know, in the winter months, when it's colder, people are going to need to use more electricity for basic things, just as keeping warm and making food to keep themselves and their families fed and sort of moving forward in their daily activity. So as that demand then increases again, it puts pressure on an already creaky electricity distribution network, both in terms of the power stations, but also in terms of the transmission network and that maintenance that needs to be done. If you just take, I know it's not the easiest and most simple example, but if you just take the Johannesburg Metro, of course, the heartland of South Africa's economy, of Gauteng, Gauteng alone and Johannesburg already struggles with maintenance for power supply, for transmission lines, for substations. This difficulty between city power and Eskom, who, sort of issues of communication in terms of fixing substations when they break down, all that sort of stuff. That all has a ripple effect. And then you've got issues, of course, a lack of access to resources and funding. So basic equipment needed to replace parts, all that sort of stuff. You've got scrambling happening when things break down. I think it's a testament to people working at Eskom that they've managed to keep things going up until this point. But even for them working there, everyone is now suffering from the years of a lack of maintenance that has been done and sort of trying to scramble to patch things where possible.
Yeah, definitely not the news we're hoping for this morning, but good news just to manage our expectations and what lies ahead for this winter. And thank you so much for having this conversation with me, Head of Policy Analysis at the Centre for Risk Analysis, Chris Hattingh. Thank you so much for your time.